But the first question I think I have for you is, can this team come out of the East as they're constructed?
It's so hard right now because what you just mentioned, man, like with all the COVID stuff, and it's not just the Sixers, it's the entire NBA right now. And you're seeing what's going on with Brooklyn. Yeah, they just got James Harden, but they're still dealing with this with Kyrie. And then when they all play together, how's that all going to work? The Milwaukee Bucks are still working out some kinks with their new players and their new roster. I still like them an awful lot. You can't count out the Celtics with what Jaylen Brown and what Jason Tatum are doing right now. I still don't like I don't like their bigs. I still think they are a big short of being a legit East team, upper echelon 1, 2, whatever. But the Sixers are just such a wild card because part of it is it was Embiid, but Embiid has been so phenomenal through these first few games. He's going to miss the next couple on the road trip. He's going to hang back because of knee pain. I'm told it's nothing serious, just precautionary. And I think at this rate, the way he's playing, just rest him. Not worth it. But a lot of it's going to come down to Ben Simmons. Quite frankly, offensively, how that's going to all work around him. The design of the roster is much better than it was last year. They all fit much better. They got much more shooting, much more spacing. So I think they have pieces that can make it work. But what's going to matter is how Ben Simmons kind of ascends his game offensively. And then Daryl Morey isn't going to sit still. It might not be a Bradley Beal. It might not be a sexy name, but they're going to make some moves. He's going to make a move or two to improve this team. So it's going to depend on those things. Depends on Ben Simmons, where he's at, how he kind of ascends, and then it's going to define what the roster looks like and what some of those changes are.
It's just funny what a week and a half can do, because when we were 7-2 and we were rocking and rolling and Ben was dishing and everybody was hitting shots and it was a kumbaya, and then you lose Seth, and I think what got under everybody's skin was the one unaggressive game where he attempted 2 shots, and it's like you're just too talented, and I think we just demand more. You don't got to drop 25 a night, but we just demand more. Ryan, I know you got a question, so you can shoot.
Yeah, and you talk about the COVID games and how we were able to see a lot more from guys that we really didn't expect to see play a whole lot or even at all. My first question is actually around Isaiah Joe, who I don't know about you guys, but the guy I love the kid already. I didn't expect to really see him at all this season, except for maybe some brief, parts of garbage time at the end. But my question to you, Paulie, is, when we get Furkan back and we get kind of this final, full roster back, do you see Isaiah Joe becoming kind of a normal part of the rotation now, maybe even over a guy like Thibault and Korkmaz, just because of how big he's been over the last week or so?
My initial thought is no. And listen, what he's done in the context of like what you just pointed out, Ryan, like the Sixers didn't expect him to have this big of a role this early and to do what he's done. He wasn't supposed to do this. They were obviously really high on him. Out of Arkansas, can shoot the hell out of the ball, and did it at a high rate. You look at his shooting numbers; they were a little down his sophomore year, but he also had a really bad injury that kind of held him back. So he's gonna. You see it. He's a high-level shooter, quick release. I've been impressed with his decision-making for a 21-year-old rookie, second-round pick that wasn't supposed to be in this moment. The way he's processing the game has been really impressive. But I think Doc Rivers – and listen, I flat out asked Doc Rivers, like, is there a number? Is there a number rotation? Because Brett Brown liked to say 10 guys. That was his deal. 10 guys for the regular season. We go into the postseason. We might chop it down to 9 or even 8. Doc Rivers said, if guys are playing well, I'll play 13, 14, 15 if I have to. I don't think he wants to do that. But when you got a guy playing like Isaiah Joe has, yeah, maybe it forces his hand. But I think when they're at full strength, when Furkan Korkmaz is healthy, when Thibault is healthy, when Mike Scott's healthy, I think he's going to defer to those more veteran players. But listen, Isaiah Joe has done nothing but help himself. So if one of those guys struggles or one of those guys gets hurt, Doc Rivers isn't going to be afraid to throw Isaiah Joe in a game. So that's kind of the blessing in disguise of this whole COVID stuff, is the fact that you get a guy like Joe that really stepped up and has proven that maybe he could be a guy, maybe not this year, but down the road, he looks like he is a rotational NBA player. And you see what Maxey, that Denver game, like, yeah, of course the situation was awful, but he scored 39 points in an NBA game. I don't care the circumstance. That's impressive. And he did it pretty efficiently, and he did it with not a lot of talent around him. So to be able to do that, like that's not an easy thing. And what Doc Rivers said after the game was what he loved about that performance was Maxey it wasn't like he was just chucking up shots. He was playing within the offense. He was making things happen on his own. He wasn't just throwing up crazy wild shots. They were good looks. And he, again, shot over 50% from the field. The only knock I really have on Maxey, and it's like nitpicking, is that I wish he got to the line a little bit more, which maybe as he gets older and gets a little bit physically stronger, he'll be able to do that more. But man, if anyone's been following along with me, man, I love this kid's game. And that's been, for me, one of the few benefits is seeing how good he has been and how he's developed. And I think at this point, Isaiah Joe is kind of on the outside looking in, but Maxey's in. Like, he has to be in. He has to play. The skill set he has, like, to be able to create off the dribble is just something they don't possess, and they haven't possessed in years. So I think Maxey has to be a part of this thing going forward. Such an important pick right there. I mean, such a steal. I mean, of a pick right there.
Absolutely. That guy's a lottery pick. We said it that night. I know a lot of people did. Like, how's this guy dropping to 21? Or I don't remember where the hell we picked at this point.
21, yeah.
Oh, 21. Yeah. Did he pick a 21 too?
Right? Yes. Poetic justice.
Speaking of Ben Simmons, real quick, the last one I have for you is: it seems like when Doc talks about him that he really wants him to be here. He really doesn't want to trade him, because I said it when Doc and Morey came here, is that they came here for a reason. I really feel like they came here because of Ben and Joe and believing that they can win with them. But do you believe that, do you believe it was more Daryl Morey trying to get the price for Harden up in that? Or do you really think the Sixers are looking to move him at all?
So I think you nailed it when you said, like, there's a reason why Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey came here. Like, they didn't come here for Tobias Harris. They came here because you already had Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. You had two all-stars just entering their prime. That's why those guys came here. I think the only reason you saw Ben Simmons' name out there is because you had one of the greatest offensive players who ever played basketball hit the market, a former MVP. So that's the only reason that Ben Simmons' name comes up. Now, if it's a Bradley Beal, does it come up there? Maybe. But, like, that's it. Like, it's got to be, to me at least, from what I understand, it's got to be upper echelon, upper tier, superstar level player if you're even going to entertain Ben Simmons being moved. I do think that Doc Rivers likes him. I think he likes him a lot. And that's the one thing I want to stress, because, like, right off the top, what we talked about was, can they come out of the East being, like, constructed as they are? And I think one of the things that Daryl Morey wants to see and that Doc Rivers wants to see is, let's give this some time. Like, let's see what this looks like now that they are surrounded by shooters. Now that Joel Embiid is really focused and playing out of his mind, playing at an MVP level. Let's see if we can now get the most out of Ben Simmons. And it's not just Doc Rivers. Sam Cassell has worked really closely with Ben Simmons. You see it every game. Sam Cassell is out there with Ben Simmons. He's changed up his shooting routine when he practices and warm-ups a little bit. So I do think this organization, they love Ben Simmons, and they're not eager to trade him by any stretch. They just, again, I think Daryl Morey saw an opportunity to possibly get James Harden, and because of how special he is and because of how good he could have theoretically been with Embiid, and, let's make no mistake, you swap Ben Simmons in this starting lineup for James Harden, they are a title contender. That bottom line, that's just the reality of it. So that's the only reason I think that was even out there. I think there is no sentiment around a team that they are willing, eager, or even really listening for Ben Simmons unless it is upper echelon, unbelievable superstar talent.
You know what that tells everybody out there that's listening? That's a well-run organization, because well-run organizations aren't just going to give up pieces just to give them up and say, you know what? We have to win right now, because that's what gets you in trouble. And that's what sort of got us in trouble 2 years ago when you're talking about Jimmy, Tobias, and everything you gave up to get them to on Reynolds, right? Because you were all in to win right there. And the NBA's tough. You guys know this. It's tough to win without chemistry. And I thought the one positive thing we saw over the first 9 games before everything happened was this team distributed the basketball tremendously, and that's what won the Warriors titles. That's actually helped win the Lakers the title last year. You got to be able to move the basketball. You got to be able to play team basketball and put your egos to the side, and it really looked like over the first 9 games that, man, and I think we're going to get back to that. So I know you said you give us like 10, Ryan. I know you got one more.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'll shoot you one real quick one. So it's kind of a two-parter, but it's an easy one. To me, I look at the backup forward position, kind of the depth there, and I would say, okay, that's the biggest weakness. A, do you agree with that? And two, and you guys know this and especially you, Paulie, from a couple of years ago. My guy is Ersan Ilyasova. Do you see a reuniting with him being a possibility for the third time? Because I know he's sitting at home right now. And I just think, okay, Mike Scott, he's kind of playing the backup four. He's had the knee issues, and he's been kind of inconsistent the last year or two. A, do you agree that's the biggest weakness as far as the team right now? And could we possibly see Ilyasova back?
I will start with the second part, and I would say, with all due respect to Ersan Ilyasova, there's a reason why he's sitting at home right now. Seriously, like if there was a playoff team that thought they could help him, he would probably be on that team right now. So I don't see it, and I just don't think that represents a big enough upgrade from a Mike Scott, who I think. Listen, he had a rough year last year. I think he's like slightly. It's gotten to the point where I think maybe he was overrated his first year here, and then now he's probably gone to so far the opposite way that maybe he's a little underrated. Like he's fine. He's not great. He's fine. You could make the argument, I think, that backup four spot is the biggest weakness. Could like PJ Tucker be a possibility? Daryl Morey bringing him in from Houston, that would to me represent a significant upgrade over Mike Scott, because I just think PJ Tucker's game, just such a glue guy, and just does all those little dirty things that need to be done, and he can shoot. So I think he would be a great fit. Mike, I guess my biggest concern is still that they lack still shot creation on the perimeter. And it's tough because maybe a guy's out there, a guy I've always loved, and they were sniffing around him this offseason was Patty Mills. I think a guy like that would be a fantastic fit. But then if you do that, you're taking away from Maxey's minutes, and you're probably taking away from Shake Milton's touches. So it's tough because it's time, like what you already touched on, like it's balancing what are we developing and when are we trying to win? And then kind of Maxey and Milton are both still developing, but they're also both kind of helping you win right now too. So do you want to get another guy in here, a veteran like a Patty Mills or even like a Lou Williams? Do you want one of those guys to eat into their minutes and their touches? So it's a balancing act, but I talk about well-run organizations. That like the biggest thing that's happened, the best thing that's happened to the Sixers is Daryl Morey falling into their damn laps, because that guy is just so smart. I think he's the best executive in the league. And so I would say if you're a Sixers fan, trust Daryl Morey that he's going to do the right things on the margins to help this team and improve this team. Could it be a backup four? Possibly. Could it be another shot creator? Possibly. But I think, again, this roster is not what it's going to look like after the trade deadline heading into the playoffs. He's going to make it better.
Yeah, I love that. PJ Tucker, just like I don't know. I got. He can play center too if we need him to.
Talk about a Philly guy too, man. Like he would be perfect in Philadelphia. People would eat him up. People would love him.
Well, we let everybody know where they can find you. We can't thank you enough for jumping on with us for a few minutes and talking some 10-9-8. And man, we got a good basketball team no matter what happens. Yeah,
it should be a fun season, man, no matter what happens. But on Twitter at Paul Hudrick, on Instagram at Paul Hudrick at Paul Hudrick 3. And then coming in for Landings, my podcast, you can see I got a YouTube channel for it. I'm always posting on my Twitter with it. You can get it wherever you download your podcast as well. I got some good guests coming down the pike. I'm really excited for it. A bigger collaboration possibly coming down the pike too. So please look out for that. And man, Tom, and just to say, like, I'm so happy for you guys and the success HUD's having. You guys are kicking ass, and I'm loving it from afar. And keep doing your thing, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Right back at you. We'll talk soon. Can't thank you enough for jumping on. Let's go get one tomorrow night.